Worst night of my life. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's Stallion, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report is coming from CasualAbuser off Earwood. When this happened, 2011, the drug used was bath salts, specifically white Stallion. The dose, quote, a decent sized snort. The route of administration, insufflation. Gender, male. Weight, 160 pounds. Age, 28. Prior experience, Adderall. And the setting, at home. So today we're presenting a bath salts report. And when I say bath salts, I just mean bath salts. I couldn't find any info that hints at what white Stallion could be, meaning this is just another bath salt that could have been a lot of things. Maybe someone out there knows about this product and can identify it for us. But at the time of this recording, it's an unknown bath salt, which we did present an unknown bath salt a while back in the report, definitely not Epsom, which was suspected to be MDPV, but it wasn't confirmed. Same case here today. Main difference is this user didn't take spice, caffeine, tobacco, and alcohol during his experience. So here we'll get a better look of what it's like to jump into an unknown bath salt alone. And we'll break down bath salts more at the end and provide some more information on this. So I'm sure you guys will like this one. So without further ado, let's dive right into this. I first heard about bath salts from a friend who told me the drug was similar to Adderall and cocaine. Of these two, I had only ever done Adderall. So I purchased a small container of white Stallion bath salts from a drive-thru. I stuck a straw straight in the container and took a decent-sized snort, no idea of the dosage. For roughly the next 2 hours, I felt great. I was speeding damn good, similar to a high dose of Adderall, but more euphoric. I felt on top of the world, extremely alert and euphoric. It was a great feeling. So great that while I was peaking, I told myself that I would have to control myself with this new drug. It was legal and thus easily accessible, and I loved the feeling it gave me. I began to think about how I will have to have some serious self-control over abusing this stuff, or else I might blow all my money on it, or end up cracked out addicted. The experience took a gradual but intensely strong twist. After about 2 hours, the speeding feeling was pretty much gone. Instead, I began to feel paranoid, agitated, and odd. This was much more than a simple down buzz. Before I knew it, I had become a different person, and I can't say I was any better. It was awful. I was extremely agitated and depressed, for no reason, and could not focus on any one thing or hold a single thought for more than a minute. The coming down was more intense than the high. I was biting my lips like a madman, similar to meth I hear. I put every ounce of effort I had into trying to stop this. I would have to solely focus on refraining from biting my lips in order not to bite them. With hundreds of paranoid thoughts racing through my mind, I would start biting again within the minute. I attempted to stop biting my lips at least 100 times. I had lost control over my thoughts and remember thinking, I could see someone easily committing suicide while experiencing this. After about 2 hours of battling this indescribable paranoia, I decided to try to sleep it off. The battle continued for at least another 1.5 hours in bed before I finally fell asleep. While in bed, I remember giving up on trying to snap back to my old self. I had tried everything imaginable to return to normalcy with zero success. There I laid in bed, calling it quits, and just praying for morning to arrive quickly so that I could feel normal again, like myself. I had only gotten about 4 hours of sleep since I had to get up early for work. I felt much better the next day, but still more unhappy and strange than I typically am. I'm actually a pretty happy guy. After work, I threw out the rest of the salts, for I would never think of doing them again. The high certainly was great, and if the down buzz wasn't so horrifying, I would probably use salts every week. It was incredibly eerie. I had never felt so unlike myself and so terribly frightened, agitated, and paranoid. I lost all control on that down buzz. I have read about other people having a good time on salts and only experiencing a mild tolerable down buzz, but I do not recommend them to anybody, if that's not obvious by now, haha. Seriously though, it was the worst night of my life, and even though it happened over 3 months ago, I almost get chills when thinking about that night. If you're thinking about trying this drug and think it may be safer since it's legal, at least do some more research on it before you make that choice. I am definitely not the only one who's gone through the hell of bath salts. Alright, so bath salts. If you aren't aware, bath salts basically legal research chemical stimulants sold at head shops, gas stations, whoever sells a high in that type of way really. A lot of the time they would be cathinones, the most common being MDPV or methadone, but others have been reported, such as 4-FA and alpha-PVP, a substance we just covered. The point is though, it could have been any of these really, and generally, they're reported as a strong stimulant. Like CasualAbuser said in this report, it can be like a mix of coke and amphetamines to give you an idea. Some compare it to the likes of MDMA, even meth. Some say that it's stronger and even scarier. Yeah, so it was a drug that was basically sold illegally at stores at a time under the term of bath salts, or sometimes it would be plant food, cleaner, or whatever really to slip by with more ease. It was a dirty market without much consideration for the users, and still is in ways to this day. There's a lot of holes and loops you can get by with research chemicals. Most of the common bath salts, though, have been banned, though they may still be sold under certain analogs and whatnot. So it is kind of fucked, especially for the people that casually were introduced to them. I think most people don't expect to buy something from the store that's potentially stronger than some of the hardest drugs on the street. A lot of people somewhat blindly jumped into these, treating it as just some casual stimulant to get high off of. And with just how easily available it was at a point, it led a lot of people into dependent states. Or, a good example with today's report, a potential overdose. That's another big thing when it came to using bath salts. No one really knew what the right dosage was. If you were smart, you would just start small and work your way up. But if you were anxious to do it, and reckless, you may just dive into a bag with a straw and snort away. Sure, he mentioned the high was good, probably just as strong, but things probably didn't weigh in until the peak passed, and he realized just how strong things were. There have been many accounts of death in result of bath salt overdoses, because it can be very easy to underestimate. Even sometimes they would recommend doses. There would be certain pills sometimes. Molly's mosquito caps are one specifically, where off one pill, people were basically reporting the effects of an overdose. Overstimulation both physically and mentally, vomiting, lots of sweating. It can get really bad. But let's bring up a couple past bath salt reports and compare it to this one. We'll bring up Fun Until I Thought I Was Going to Die by TJ, where TJ and her boyfriend bought an eighth of MDPV. They started off casually, but before they knew it, it turned into a binge. They stayed up for days cleaning, partially due to paranoia of spiders in their home. But they go 7 days in hard and basically end up in a wreck. TJ reports hallucinating all kinds of things, and they needed to eat at some point, which they decided to go out to a restaurant without regard for public decency, and shortly a cop arrives to arrest them. In jail, she had tons of auditory hallucinations that really scared her, where she eventually convinced herself that she was waiting and her family was waiting because they were getting ready for her and her boyfriend's wedding. And compared to today's report, much more drawn out of course, but the state these users ended up in is very similar. Whether it be from an overdose or using it for too long, you can still end up in a paranoid, uncomfortable mess that makes you feel like you're on the edge of life. But the other report I want to bring up is the APVP report we just did. Smoothest, least uncomfortable analog by Andy 5750. Now the experience was much more controlled and actually measured, and overall, he just seemed more well informed and prepared to take the substance. And I mainly want to focus on this aspect of it and just show that these substances themselves aren't necessarily bad drugs. It's just that a lot of the context behind it, like the suppliers using it for greedy purposes, and then the users themselves not necessarily having the knowledge to go about it efficiently, leads to that perception of it. Andy presents a different case and shows these could have potential in ways when dosed correctly. But at the same time, that aspect is what can pull people into addiction. But even if they do have potential in ways, bath salts are most likely going to be a rocky road for most people. So we're going to end it there today. If you enjoyed today's report on bath salts, want to see more on bath salts, you have your own reports on bath salts, let me know. Send it in to NoOneSubmitReport@gmail.com or any report at all. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow the socials, share the video. It's been someone that's no one, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.